This is not a conventional ghost story. While it involves a paranormal entity, it turned out to be a noble one, as I eventually discovered.
The story dates back to November 17th, 1996, when I was 21 years old. I was traveling to Harnai to visit my grandparents' home in the Konkan region. I had left Mumbai late in the afternoon and encountered a flat tire on the way, delaying me unexpectedly. Harnai is a famous beach village in the Konkan region. There are two routes to reach Harnai, one via Keddapoli, where you take NH3 up to Barnanaka, and the other through Anjarle, where you leave NH3 at Tolia village, not a toll plaza, and take the inner road past Goregaon. The second route is shorter, but quite deserted and lonely at night. Since I was running late, I chose this route. It was around 11:30 p.m. when I was on the outskirts of Mandangad, heading towards Kelshi. That's when I noticed a girl waving at my car. There was a small hill on the right side of the road, and a house in the distance, likely where she had come from. I stopped the car. The girl looked about 15 or 16 years old. She approached the passenger side and knocked on the window. I rolled it down and looked at her. She was strikingly sweet-looking, and her face had a calming aura. She wore a traditional dress, shalwar kameez, wrapped around her ears, shielding herself from the cold. I asked her what the matter was. She replied, "I need to go to Anjarla urgently. Will you drop me there?" As I was bored, after driving for nearly 7 hours, and Anjarla was along my route, I agreed to give her a ride. At least I'd have someone to talk to, instead of just listening to music. She got into the passenger seat, and we continued on our way. We began talking after a while. She told me her name was Ratna. She had visited her uncle in Mandangad and missed the last bus, which left at 10 p.m. She said she had to get to Anjarla urgently because she was in the 10th grade and had school early the next morning. Surprised, I asked why her uncle allowed her to travel alone at this hour. She explained that she had planned to leave earlier, but her uncle fell sick suddenly, leaving her with no other choice. We talked about various topics as we drove. After about an hour, we had crossed Kelshi and were nearing Anjarla. That's when she asked me to stop the car. I stopped and looked around. On the right side of the road was a beach, and on the left was a small hill. I wondered where she was headed. She got out of the car, and I asked her where she was going. She replied, "My house is just behind this hill." I offered to walk her home to ensure her safety, but she firmly said, "No, only till here, no further. I'll meet you again someday. You can leave now." Her tone and expression suddenly changed. She pointed towards the village of Anjarle with a motionless face. Something in her demeanor stopped me from arguing further. I got back into the car and drove off. I reached my grandparents' house about half an hour later. They were surprised to see me arrive so late. I narrated the entire incident to them, including my encounter with Ratna. My grandparents warned me never to stop in that area at night, as it was rumored to be haunted. Since I didn't believe in the paranormal, I dismissed their warning and went to bed. During the following days, I visited Suvarnadurga Fort, an island fort similar to Janjira and Sindhudurg. I had made a few friends during my earlier visits to Harnai, and we decided to have a day trip to Anjarla Beach. While relaxing on the beach, I noticed a man in his 40s descending from the hill. Surprised to see us, he revealed that he lived on the other side of the hill. A thought struck me. It was the same location Ratna had mentioned. I casually asked him about his family. He said he lived with his wife and 2 sons. I asked if he had a daughter, or if any other houses were nearby. He gave me a strange look and said, "Ratna was my daughter. She passed away 10 years ago." I was stunned and speechless. Gradually, I composed myself and narrated my encounter with Ratna 2 nights earlier. He listened attentively and then shared the heartbreaking truth. Ratna had indeed been coming from Mandangad the night she died. Her uncle, who had fallen ill, had been at Mandangad. She missed the bus and had hitchhiked a ride with a car driver. Tragically, the car driver fell asleep at the wheel, causing an accident at the very spot where I had picked her up. The driver survived with severe injuries, but Ratna lost her life instantly. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. To confirm, I walked with him to his house. The moment I entered, I saw a photograph of a girl on the wall, adorned with a garland. It was unmistakably the same girl I had met 2 nights ago. A chilling thought crossed my mind. What would have happened if I had insisted on walking her home? The date of my encounter, November 17th, was the same date she had died, 10 years earlier. For the next couple of years, I kept visiting Harnai, but didn't encounter Ratna again. Life got busy, and her memory began to fade. Then, during another trip to Harnai, I decided to travel the same route, this time at the same time and date, November 17th. At 11:30 p.m. at the same spot, I saw her again. This time, she wasn't waving for a ride, but seemed to be waiting for me. She opened the car door calmly and got in. She was wearing the same outfit and carried the same calm demeanor. We had a conversation during the ride. She acknowledged that I now knew her truth. She also warned me that not all entities were as harmless as her. Some could be dangerous. She answered many of my questions about the paranormal. Her responses were detailed, insightful, and beyond anything I could summarize here. Ratna told me she had no intention of harming me and expressed gratitude for the kindness I had shown her years ago. As I dropped her at the same spot as before, she said, "You'll remember me, won't you?" And with that, she disappeared into the night. To this day, I don't have answers to all my questions. Where was she all those years? Why did she choose to appear to me? But one thing is certain. My encounter with Ratna changed the way I view the world, the afterlife, and the unknown.